So we pretty much finished off our Stop the Insanity series.
Mm-hmm.
As you probably all know, first we did the wovens, then we did the knits. I see Janet is wearing. What are you wearing? Tell us. It's new.
Well, I'm wearing my swing tee, but it's a little too big for me.
It's a little extra swingy.
Yeah, it's a little. Well, I lost about 15 pounds since I made it, so it's baggy.
Oh, so you didn't make it during the series.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
In the last 2 months, I've lost almost 20 pounds.
Wow.
You didn't notice?
Of course I did.
Oh.
All right, so we got it's still good. It's
But
still
anyway,
good for around the house, but it's
yeah,
not good for showing off how well you do at fitting.
exactly. Exactly. It feels fine, but yeah, I'm excited to make some new ones. I have to alter my pattern a little bit.
Right. And you could see last week Janet showed the nightgown that she did in the Stop the Insanity series, as well as this super cute dress. I know that got a ton of
And
compliments.
that fits. That one I was making just, you know,
Because it was last week.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
Yes. So, what we wanted to do is wrap up with any questions that anybody might have if they've been working on their garments, either the camp shirt or doing anything with
The knits.
with the woven or anything with the knits.
Yeah.
And what else? Oh, you wanted to remind them that or let them know that there is more fabric on clearance,
Yes.
correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we put some of the lawns, the really nice wide lawns are marked down. And I'm not sure, but anyways, there are some fabrics in there to take a look at to get a special price on. So we've got a link at the top of our website that says clearance.
And I'm going to put it in the comments right now as well. I just put it in there. So, you don't have to look for it, but if you want to come back later, there is a clearance section. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's islandersewing.com.
So today we don't have a real, well, we don't have a formal program at all. So we don't have a technique or a demo. However, we're open to your questions because we'd like to, help you in any way we can with your sewing before, drum roll,
I mean, I don't know if it's.
we're going to take a 2 month hiatus. Now, that does not mean we will be leaving the business, but we will not be doing Tuesdays at 2 in July and August. And what we invite you to do during July and August is to take a look at your sewing bucket list. Get some things done that you've been meaning to do. For example, get your woven bodice completed and fit, and get your knit fit so that you are really ready and raring to go when we come back in September. Or chances are, if you get those fit, you're going to be ready to go before we do get back in September. So think about, some of those things that you've been wanting to do or to learn or to explore in your sewing.
Yes, or anything that you might have been with us for and missed a little or wasn't. I know Jillian hasn't been able to be with us for the last month, and she's going to go back and use YouTube to do the Stop the Insanity series. So remember that you can catch all of the videos again. You can watch them as many times as you want here on Facebook, but also on YouTube is a great way to watch them because Brenda here in our office has put them together into playlists. So when you go to our YouTube channel, which is Islander Sewing Systems, you'll see different playlists. So if we did a sew along, they will all be together. Of course, you could search all the videos at once, but then these playlists put like-minded things together. So all of us sew along will be together. There is a great one that is tips and techniques. So
Yes.
if Janet gives a tip or a demo, or we've made some videos in the past for marketing material, they're all in there.
Yeah, we're bringing some of the past ones, like the buttonholer, and some of the things that the understitching, and some of the tips we had done prior to starting our YouTube, which has been about a year now. And the funny thing is, I got an email from a woman that had taken classes from Margaret many, many, many years ago, because she sent me a picture, I believe it's of the VHSs that she purchased. That's how long ago. Anyway, she found us and she has been watching from the very beginning,
Oh no. Did you
2017.
stop her?
No, she'd already done it. She
Stop.
goes, I'm 2/3 of the way through. I'm like, are you kidding me? She's watched every single one and she's loving it. But about a year ago, we took some of those, like the tips and techniques, and pulled them out and put them in a special playlist. And then any of our sew alongs and things like that, and everything we've done since about this time last year, we've been putting on the YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe. There's a big red button. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're there, and then you'll get notices when new things are put up.
Yes. And I want to make it clear, I know Janet said it, but we're not stopping working. We're just stopping, except for we do have one vacation planned. We're just not going to be doing Tuesdays at 2. So if you still need help, if you need to order anything, Janet will still be doing newsletters, all that. We will be here. So you can reach us by phone. And then obviously our best communication is email, islandersewing at comcast.net.
Yes. We respond to that pretty quickly. I know some of you just quick send us a note on Facebook, and sometimes we don't see that for a day or two. But the emails we're reviewing practically hourly during work days. So that's the best way to get a hold of us the fastest. And I'll still be available, except for the second week in July when I'm on vacation. We'll still be available to help you with your fitting issues.
Yes.
So if you bought the support package, or you just have one simple question, whichever, or you want to know which pattern to start with for your sloper, things like that, we're here, and Brenda will be here when I'm not. So we'll be constantly available by email. We will also be sending out newsletters periodically, and we'll be here to answer your questions and to help you. So today, if you got the newsletter, I wrote an article quickly, having stopped into a well-known craft store recently, and I saw all these signs that said apparel fabric. And so I was a little curious, and I walked over, and of course it was not apparel fabric. It was quilter's fabric, but they put the sign on it called apparel, 2 rows of it. And so then people who are new to sewing, sometimes not even new to sewing, just haven't had a really robust education in fabrics, and they think, well, it says it's apparel. That's good enough for me. I'm buying it. And so my article said, just because it says apparel doesn't mean it is. So I threw in one of my Mythbusters into the newsletter that talks about why quilter's cotton isn't usually successful in garments. And that's gotten a lot of interest. But, there are 16 Mythbusters. So there's lots of little tips in the Mythbusters that you might want to take advantage of. And you can download it so that you can have it. If you purchase my book, Islander Sewing Systems 1 for personal sewing, it'll be an addendum in the back of the book, so you already have it. But you might want to share it with your sewing friends. We're hoping that you will share us with your sewing friends. Share our, what you like about Tuesdays at 2, or the website. Send them to the website. Let them know that Islander sewing really makes a big difference.
Yeah, and Janice had already wrote that too. She said, I have a great niece who has started to sew but needs info about fitting, so I gave her the info about your videos. It can be daunting to start sewing and the garment doesn't fit. So I hope it helps her. And I hope it helps her too, Janice, but I don't have any doubt that it will. I've always said that I'm kind of spoiled and I did not know it, um, because I did learn to sew this Islander system through the Islander sewing system. And I didn't know what I didn't know that other people had to go through. So when I hear people sometimes ask questions, I mean, I think I've heard most of them now, but I'm like, well, why would you do that in the first place? That just doesn't make any sense to me. Not knowing that a lot of people are taught some of these other ways,
Mm-hmm.
and I was lucky enough to be taught in these ways that make sense
First,
at
so
first.
you didn't,
Yeah, I
you
didn't
didn't
have
have
to
to
go
unlearn
back.
anything.
And I've heard people say, "Oh my gosh, I wish I would have known this
30 years
30
ago.
years ago,
We
15 years
Well,
ago."
that reminds me of this email that I just got before we went on air, and someone who had Robin Elmore. She had just gotten the newsletter, and she said she loved the Mythbusters. Sometimes I swear people just want to make life difficult by following all these rules and really love process. I just want to wear the garment, the quicker the better. Additionally, it is super helpful to know which excuse me, things to do that in fact do make a difference, like understitching. So what Robin is saying is that she's really enjoying Islander sewing systems because she doesn't like the process. She doesn't like all the fussy stuff. Now, we all know people who just love the process, and we honor that. And I actually had one woman who took Islander and she loved it, took a whole weekend of it. But I ran into her 3 or 4 years later, and she said, I have to admit, I can't give up my pins. But she had this very sentimental story about a grandmother from Italy and her mother, and they taught her to sew, and they were dressmakers, and they always used 1,000 pins.
Yeah.
And so for her,
It's
there's
the
a lot of the
process.
ceremony
Yeah.
and the process that, and you know what? If that makes her happy, then who are we to criticize? But for those of you who are like Robin and you say, hey, I want it to be an excellent looking garment, I want it to fit well, but I just want to get it done. I don't want to play all these games or do the process that isn't necessary. So in the Mythbusters, I talk about some of the processes that many of you have been taught through a home ec teacher or a well-meaning sewing teacher or friend, and that aren't necessary and sometimes are actually counterproductive. So I hope you'll take a look at the Sewing Mythbusters. And Robin Elmore, thank you so much for a very timely comment.
Oh, that's nice, Karen. Okay, so Karen has a great comment too. I have to acknowledge. She says, I made the best fitting shorts ever using Connie's book. I'm blown away. I never had to pull them up, and they were so cute on and comfy. Thank you for your encouragement. Now I have confidence to get back to the shirt that I couldn't figure out last year. That's great.
Yes, excellent.
Yes, and so there's been a couple of comments which I know are tongue in cheek about what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do on Tuesdays? You're gonna sew.
Yes.
We're not gonna stop working, so you're not gonna stop sewing. And I know a few people, this is your chance. Most of you have not watched every single episode. I'm sure most, but not every single one. If there's anything that you missed and you wanted to get caught up on, or, if you came in halfway through a sew along and decided, well, I can't catch up now, now's your time.
Mm-hmm.
You can go back and do that.
Well, we all procrastinate. So if you've been procrastinating on making the Islander shirt or procrastinating on
The fitting,
the fitting,
doing the fitting.
a lot of people, including myself at times, have procrastinated on the fitting. This is the time. This is the time you could take every Tuesday and start at 1 or 2 o'clock and spend a couple of hours working on that. And
or whatever
in the
time that you
spirit of
do.
Tuesdays at 2.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
whatever time you do
Mhm.
set aside to
Yeah.
watch us, because we know you're not all live. But if you are watching us Tuesdays at 5 p.m.,
Yeah,
like you
exactly.
take that time that you normally set aside and work on your skills or a garment or whatever it is, watch the videos, and then post what you're working on or what you finish.
Yeah, I'm always harping on do a test, do a test. And so many times when you're in the middle of a project and it's time to put that facing on or put those buttonholes on, you just want to do it and you don't take the time to test. So, why not find that one thing that just drives you crazy, putting zippers in or putting buttonholes in or whatever it might be for you? And take the time to do some small samples and practice. So this is what we do in our Islander no pins, no basting, no kidding class is we have miniature samples. And if you've got my book, in the back of the book are the patterns for those miniature samples. So you could sit down and actually put 5 zippers in and to really practice, and you're only putting them in like a little miniature piece of fabric. I really recommend Kona cotton or a heavy quilter's cotton for your practicing. But that'll give you the opportunity to really feel good about that when that project comes up, whatever that technique might be. And keep your samples, write on your samples. Like if there's a special setting on the machine that worked best, a special foot, needle. I've talked to you before about Sandra Betsina's books on Fabric Savvy. And the reason she wrote the book was she started taking notes because she'd work on a certain fabric or a certain technique. And then 3 years later, she'd find herself reinventing the wheel, trying to remember or having to test the right feet and needles and things again. So she kept this notebook. So that's a great way to, especially when you have a specific machine and you might want to set it at a specific setting, have it right there. So that might be a thing to do on Tuesdays to fill in your gaps.
Yep. And Karen's asking, where do we post what we make? Right here on our Facebook page, Karen. It's a little bit different depending on where you are posting from, what device, all that sort of things. But you should be able to post right on our Facebook page. You can look for the community section is usually the easiest for people to find. But if it's not immediately obvious to you, look for that community section or you can send us a message. But right here on our Facebook page, and I encourage everybody to go to that section and see what other people have posted too, because there's a lot of great inspiration on there.
Yeah, for me, it's on my browser, it's the word more, and you click that, and then down comes the menu, and you click on community. But like Jessica said, if you're using an iPhone, a tablet, a desktop, they're all a little bit different. So, but it should be fairly easy to find. But we would love for you to start posting. We'd love to see if you do a knit dress. Has anybody else done a knit dress? Um, Swing tees, your camp shirts, or anything that you're having fun with or successful in sewing. It doesn't even have to be a garment. We just want to see and be inspired by what you make. Do you have your notes?
On my desk.
Oh,
Do you have yours?
I didn't make any. I was counting on yours.
Ay, ay, ay. She's already checked out.
Okay. Well,
Oh, looks like we covered it.
it looks like we covered everything.
See? I didn't even need them.
All right then.
But make sure you check out those fabrics on clearance. Also, sorry. How about posting the bags? Yeah, post the bags. Do it. Anything that uses our techniques,
yeah.
our fabric, our
A sewing
patterns,
machine.
a sewing machine. Yeah, I know we've got a lot like Cassie posts a lot. She does a lot of costuming,
Mm-hmm.
and she uses our techniques. So I mean, that's not our pattern or our fabric, but she's showing off what she has made using our techniques, the bags, anything. So check out that clearance section. If this is the time that you're going to take to really dive into the fitting, those that is available and the help is available where Janet will email back and forth with you to get any help that you need. This would be a good time to do that. Okay, Pam has a question. I have a question.
Is that Pam Clark?
Yes.
Hi, Pam.
I was at the fabric store looking for fabric to make another kimono sleep blouse. I was looking for lawn. They had cotton viscose that they said was the same. Is that right?
It's not the same, but I think it would work just fine. You know, I did Cupro, and the Cupro was great because, and a Bemberg Rayon would be great. It just depends on, are you making the camp shirt to wear on vacation, to hop off to the grocery store, or are you making it for something a little bit, you know, nicer to wear to work or whatever. So you can do a lot of things. Just, it helps if it's drapey. It's got a little drape to it. So that viscose, just make sure it's got a little drape to it. And I think it should be fine.
Oh, Jillian, you're speaking to Janet's heart. She said
Chocolate?
she said that she made a cute little dress for her daughter using the pink paradise.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And she said, I'll have to post it because
please,
I was able to match the pattern on the back.
Oh, perfect. See, I love
yes,
that kind of stuff.
definitely post that so we can be very proud of you. I mean, we are already, but so we can see it.
Yeah, that would be great.
Oh, she said it wasn't cotton viscose, it was cotton voile.
Voile is on the sheer side. So as long as, you know, hold it up, put your hand behind it.
But same.
Yeah, yeah. But, well, voile is not as drapey. So I'm not sure. And it's definitely not the same as lawn. And this is exactly why I wrote that article in the newsletter today. People will tell you anything that work in a fabric store. Just like if you posted something on Facebook today and you said some general question, let's say, what's the best fabric to make a nightgown out of? You'd get 75 different answers, and some of them are very wrong. Well, the same thing happens when you go in the fabric store. You're going to get whoever the
not a good fabric store.
Most likely, but how many of those are there
left
left
in
the
saying,
country?
I want to clarify.
Yeah.
I want to clarify
Right.
for our good fabric stores out there that we love that are educated.
Yes, when they have educated staff, which is very few anymore. Used to be that was the thing, but not so much. Like Brenda and I were talking. You know, she walked into a chain store and asked for Batiste, and the clerk had no idea what Batiste was. I walked into used to be Hancock's many years ago, and they said, "Oh, what are you looking for?" I said, "You by any chance?" And I didn't think they did have Bemberg rayon lining. She said, "Oh, you don't want rayon lining." She didn't even ask me what I was lining, and I said, "Well, why not?" And she said, "Oh, polyester is so much better." Well, I said, "Thank you very much," and I left. She didn't know what she was talking about. There's no way that polyester, unless it was a specific circumstance, which she didn't know what my circumstance was. So obviously she didn't know what she was talking about. But when you walk in there and you're a customer and you don't know the information and they give that information to you, just like that's why we write the Mythbusters, is because somebody knew more than you did. They told you that, you believed it, but it might not be true. So, yeah. So I don't know about that voile because that sounds, voile is like a stiff chiffon. It's very sheer usually. And what do people do anyway when you go into a store, whether it's an automobile dealer or fabric store? If they don't have what you want, they're going to try and sell you what they do have. So that could be the situation as well.
Well, and one piece of advice is that, when she told you that it was the same, and I can tell you were questioning it, maybe try to say like, "Oh, how are they the same? How are they different?" Like what differences should I expect to see? And see if they know how to answer those questions like Janet would know how to answer those questions. And then you'll know, do
Did
they
it?
know what they're talking about? And you can just smile and nod and be like, "Okay, thanks."
And
And
sometimes they're trying to help.
right.
Yeah, they're trying to help.
But then okay, did this sales associate know what they're talking about, or did they think they know what they were talking about? And that'll help you out too. And if not, send Janet an email. And Pam is wondering if you can define or give examples of the terms hand and drape.
Yes, I certainly can. And
But not today. We'll catch you in 2 months.
the other thing is that Fabric Savvy book, when we're talking about the voile versus lawn, that tells you the different qualities, properties of the specific fabrics, and what kind of garment you should use it in. So that might be a really good resource for you. Okay, what's the next one?
Hand and drape.
Okay, so the hand of the fabric is similar to the drape, but it's the feel of the fabric. And an educated, not educated, an experienced sewer has developed an understanding of the hand. So when I was taught from the time I was a little kid, we went in the fabric store, we would take a hold of the fabric. Here's one. Get out here. As you walk down the aisle, if you saw a print you liked, you would take it between your fingers and your thumb and feel it. Feel it. That's the first thing. Now, can I tell you, it's just like how much salt do you put in mashed potatoes? There's a feel that you get after you've made a lot of mashed potatoes. I remember I had a girlfriend who just got married, and we had this long, she just could not figure out how much salt to put in her potatoes. But anyway, so
More.
you just got to make some to find out. And sometimes you got to put too much in to figure it out. Well, anyway, so with the drape, then the drape is how it falls. So how it falls off your hand or falls off. If I was to pick up, let's see, grab that blue one on the top there, and you'll see. So we know this is very, very drapey. This is a rayon. And I like the feel of it. It's smooth. It feels nice. And it falls off my hand nice. Now, this is not as drapey. So when I hold this piece up, it's going to fall in stiffer.
It drapes, but it has like the stiffer peaks.
Right.
Where the first one has like the flow. So that's the drape. That first one is real drapey. This one drapes, but it's a little bit stiffer.
And again, it's a subtle difference. And as you go along, you'll get a feel for it. Sometimes we can't put all the fabrics that a garment could be made in on the suggested fabrics on the back of the pattern. So sometimes we'll say this, that, and similar. But if you don't know what this and that are, how are you going to figure out what's similar? So it's all about experimenting. But again, giving yourself a little more fabric education will help you as well. But learning the hand, feel it between your fingers and your thumb, and then the drape. And honestly, a lot of my experience came from buying the wrong fabric and thinking that it had the properties I wanted, and then finding out after I got home, either washed and dried it or actually made it up, that I found out, ooh, that's not quite right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay.
I hope that helped
Yeah.
you with the
I
hand.
think you can relate the hand to like when you're shopping for ready to wear,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, oh, I like that t-shirt, and you go touch it and you're like, oh, no, not putting that. I know I don't like that feel.
Exactly. Is it
Or right.
rough or is it too slippery? Do I feel too much
You
polyester?
correlate to
Yeah,
how it's going to feel on your body, or even how you know that feel might drape or not drape. Am I going to put this, I feel this t-shirt, it feels stiff. Is it going to look like a stiff box on me? Like, no thanks, I know I don't like that.
exactly. Exactly. And what one person likes, another one doesn't. So it's all personal at a certain point anyway. But yeah. And again, it's all a matter of experimenting. But start touching those fabrics. With my eyes closed, I can tell you cheap polyester right away. uh, you know, the kids would come with me to the fabric store and I'd see a print that I like I told you, and I'd reach out to touch it. And the minute that I felt that really cheap polyester fabric, I kind of would recoil. It's like, oh no, not that one. I love the print, but I'm not going to be seduced by the print because I know what that fabric is going to do when I make it up, and it's not going to be what I want.
And it probably won't be very fun to make up
No,
either.
no.
Thumbs down all the way around.
Yeah. Yeah, polyester for the most part is um, the easiest to care for a lot of times because it's just wash and wear. But it doesn't take the needle well. It doesn't take the thread well. So it's not as easy to get a nice, smooth sewing experience. And it doesn't breathe. So you have issues depending on your climate or your circumstance. So polyester is an excellent fabric when it comes to things like Polar Tech. Polar Tech is all polyester. But here's the other place that's really hard on, and that's your whatever you cut it with, especially rotary cutters. You'll start with a fresh blade, and after you cut out a Polar Tech or Polar Fleece garment, you pretty much are going to have some dull spots in your blade already. Where other fabrics like cottons or silks, you could cut out
Forever.
dozens and not get your blade dull. But that will definitely be harder on your blade. But that's a good place for polyester to be. And certainly we like the polyester ITYs. But ITYs, the yarn is twisted while it's being woven or knitted, which causes that wonderful drape. And they are easy to care for. They are wash and dry, and away you go. And I do like them for resort wear. Okay.
Yep. Yep. Pam, I agree with you, and I'm sure Janet will too. She says, my latest pet peeve is no windows in the fabric store. How do you know what the color is under those terrible lights?
I have taken fabric outside.
She says, I walk my fabric to the window or the door. Think
Yep.
about that when you're buying your fabric too.
It can make a huge difference in the color. You could get home with fabric you don't like the color of, thinking that it was an entirely different color. And that happened to me with a garment. Luckily, I was able to take it back in a store that didn't have good lighting, like in the mall where they don't have windows. Yeah.
All right. So, again, if you have any questions, we will be here. The easiest way is email, but of course, you can call us. Brenda's talking to someone right
I know.
now.
And we're going to miss you. We're going to miss Tuesdays
Yeah.
at 2 ourselves, but we kind of need to rejuvenate, come up with some new ideas, and we'd love to hear from you if you have any. And of course, we can't always do what you ask, but we definitely will entertain it or at least address it in some way. So over the summer, if there's something you think, wow, man, I'd really like to know what Janet and Jessica would do with that subject, send it to us. And if we can, we will.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody have a great summer if we don't talk to you. And we'll see you in September.
That sounds like a song title. And it is.
All right.
Thanks for joining us at Islander
Yes.
Sewing Systems. We really appreciate your attention. It gives us a chance to come on here and have fun and talk about what we really love, and that is fashion sewing. So you enjoy your summer. Take a look at your sewing bucket list. Uh,
And show us what you're working on.
yeah, send us, yeah, put it on the Facebook page. Thanks so much. Subscribe to YouTube. Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.